Hi, I'm Mike Hurley, Belfast City Council. Two projects on White Street were recently funded by Maine State Housing, and they did that with tax credits. And I just want to explain how tax credits, most people think they hear subsidized housing, and they think somebody's giving somebody money. So the way it works is the federal government approves a certain amount of tax credits for a state. And that could be like, okay, here's $10 million in tax credits. That means somebody can use a $1 tax credit and put it on their tax bill and deduct that from their taxes. They don't have to pay that they owe it. They have a credit. But they don't do that. Why would they buy a $1 tax credit for $1? So the state has an auction, and they sell the tax credits to people or companies that want tax credits because they have a high income. And they have high tax demand. So they have this auction, and let's just say they sell $1 million for $500,000, and that is sold to a bank. So the bank, who is the one who needs the tax credits so that they can reduce their income tax. So they've just paid $500,000 for $1 million in tax credits. So meanwhile, now the bank gives that money, that cash, that $500,000 to Misha, Maine State Housing, and Maine State Housing gives the tax credits to the bank. So then what does Maine State Housing do? They go out to construction people and they say, okay, we've got $500,000. Actually, it's a lot more than that. It's like $15 million. And these outfits, like Realty Resources and others, then bid a proposal, and Maine State Housing then funds them, let's say, $3 million. And then what happens is, instead of like when you build a house and you go to the bank and you get a mortgage and you owe the bank and you have to pay your mortgage for the money that you borrowed to build your house, the money is given to these companies they don't have the mortgage, or they have a much smaller mortgage, and they have lowered their expenses, and in return they guarantee that they will have a lower rent. So that's when you hear it's funded with tax credits or with funding from the federal government or state government. There's really no subsidization that goes on after that. Generally speaking, these aren't Section 8 or something. These are straight up tax credits that are sold to banks at a reduced amount. Then Maine State Housing gives the money, funds those construction companies, and the company builds a senior housing place, and then they can afford to rent for 20 or 30 years, whatever the deal is, at a much lower rate because they don't have a mortgage. And that's how tax credits work. Thanks. Mike Hurley, Belfast City Council.